You're listening to the Beats and Bars podcast hosted by BATTL BEATS. This podcast is out there to shine a light on the most slept on and underrated rappers and producers.
It's battle, baby!
Hey guys, what's up? It's BATTL BEATS here with another episode of the Beats and Bars podcast. We're joined today with another special guest. We've got Factor 50. How's it going, mate? You alright?
Yeah, all good, mate. You all right?
Yeah, I'm good. I've realised that I'm good. I've had to use the word mate more talking to you and a few other British guys because I talk to a lot of Americans, so a lot of the time I just say bro, and a lot of my English mates start to take the piss a bit, so I'm trying to like use my English language a bit more because I just get stuck in a little language trap. I know it's weird, but
Yeah, nice. That's right. I mean, I call everyone mate, from females to old people. I call them mate. It's just a thing. It's just one of them.
just a Cockney thing.
Yeah, it definitely is. Yeah.
Nice. So do you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and how long you've been going at music?
Yeah. Well, my real name's Lee, but I go by the artist name Factor 50. I might have to explain this a little bit, but the Americans get a little bit confused with where I'm going. But long and short of it is because I'm pale as anything, and in the sun I could be in the sun for 10 minutes max, and I'd look like a lobster. So my go-to is a Factor 50 sun cream. So I thought, pasty skin, Factor 50, bit of play on words because I'm pale.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where it goes to for me. I'm in the British Army. I've been in for 9 years. I rap. Clearly, I'm a rap artist. Potentially might make that my full career one day. I've been doing music for, well, seriously now for about a year and a half, 2 years. But I started when I was around 12 or 13. And it ranged from when I was a kid. I used to listen to all types of music from Michael Jackson, George Michael, Frank Sinatra, pop, punk, rock, ska, you name it, I listened to it. But when I first heard hip hop music, I liked the rhythm and the rhymes and the poetry. So I was always into poetry when I was younger. So it sort of more resonated with me more than other genres. I mean, I'm a little bit of everything. I like everything, to an extent. There has to be a certain mood for, if I'm sitting in a shower, having a shower, I'll whack a bit of Frank Sinatra on and sing away. Do you know what I mean? Because there's no harm in it. But you'll never catch me singing properly, put it that way. Only in the shower.
That's cool. So you've basically you've been loving music since you was a kid, and you like all types of music, but hip hop was kind of the thing where it was like you were like, yeah, that's me. I love that. And it's really interesting that you said you liked the poetry and you liked the lyrics and the beat to it, because when I've been listening to music and when I listened to your verse in the cypher that was just out, we'll talk about that later, but I was like, you're definitely a lyricist. That is definitely your thing, and you're definitely good at playing with the words, and it's in a different way to what I normally hear, because a lot of like the American terms are all American, so for us it's like, yeah, I get what you mean, but because yours are like cleverly worded and in a British way, I can like resonate with them more, and I'm like, yeah, that's actually really, really sick what you did there, especially some of your bars in the cypher, man. They were really, really good. And I'm not normally someone who is a lyric guy. I play guitar, piano, bit of drums, produce. Singing and lyrics are not my thing, but like instruments are. So I normally listen out for instruments, and I'm getting better at like listening to lyrics and looking at the meaning into bars. But it's not easy for me. But I watched Mo's reaction to the BATTL BEATS CYPHER yesterday, and he was breaking down your bars, and then I understood them more, and then I appreciated it more, and like you just went up in my books. Do you know what I mean? Because when someone explains it, it's like, damn, I actually I get it more, and it's like, yeah, oh wow, you've just gone up in my estimation. It's not like you were down, but you know what I mean? It's like when someone explains it, it's like it was really, really cool. So What did you? How did you get into like lyricism and stuff like that, and just writing in tune,
Um,
proper punchlines and things like that?
well, I always, I mean, obviously, I grew up in London, in the East End of London, and then I eventually moved away from London. But when I was at school at the time, there was a lot of sort of grime going about, and I was never into grime. And I've not that I don't like the genre. I think it's good in its respective manner, but I've never been personally into the way grime rolls off the tongue. It feels too. It feels too. This, and I don't want to say this the wrong way, but from where I'm listening, it sounds very simple. Like the rhymes are very simple, and I always like to get a little bit intricate. Sometimes I get way too intricate, and then people go, "What the hell does he mean?" And you'll have to listen to it 3 or 4 times before you understand where I'm going with something. And I've always liked playing on words, and then obviously when my first sort of touch on lyricists were people like Tupac and Biggie. But then what really elevated it for me was when Eminem appeared on the scene and his
Mm,
first album came out. And obviously he put the comedy with the rap and obviously the slight horrorcore and I'm gonna kill me wife and all that sort of stuff. And then the more I listened to it, the more I listened to the words and how he played on them and how he bent his metaphors and added these syllables in and the way he structured his music. And I mean, I still go back now and listen to songs from back in the day and I listen to it and I go, how have I just caught that 15 years later? But
mm,
now I'm more in tune with catching lyrics nowadays. So someone could play a lyric or play a song rather, and I go, yeah, I know exactly what he's referring to, whether it be a congruent activity that's going on in the world or something that's happened in the past or something that's just always there. You know, it could be something simple. But I think a lot of listeners in general, from my perspective, when they listen to hip hop, they listen to the beat and auto tune's a big thing nowadays. They listen to the beat and the auto tune and they go, yeah, this song's fucking mental. And when you, as a lyricist, you kind of get a little bit disheartened. You sit back and you go, why does everyone like this? What's so amazing about this? But
mm.
it's because your ears naturally tuned to certain rhythms and melodies. But when you start going a little bit off piece with your rhythm, melodies, and your flows, people are like, well, I didn't expect that. But the people that do appreciate it are the artists themselves, or diehard listeners like obviously Maurice himself, obviously, and other people. People do get it, but I'm trying to bring that with my music. I'm trying to bring that gap from being a British artist to international, because a lot of people, as you said about the slang earlier, people listen and they go, don't know what he means. I ain't got a clue what he means.
Mm.
But if they actually, it's pretty simple. I try not to use too much English terminology, as in East London terminology or English terminology in general for the American audience, because they don't get it. They don't understand. Because obviously we have a different way of doing things in life over here than what they do over there. Maybe not
Mm.
too far, but just little. Like as you said earlier, like we say mate and they say bro or dude, or do you know what I
Mm.
mean? That little difference. So that's where I'm trying to go with it.
Nice. That's cool. So, have you got any plans to release any new music? You thinking maybe an EP, an album, singles? What sort of on your radar at the
Yeah,
minute?
I've currently got a collaboration coming up with another military musician who is he's an American, he's in the Navy, and his name's Cash Jr. I won't go too much into what the song's about, but it's different. It is different vibe that we're going for. It's more on a personal level, but we're singling out one topic where you can relate to. Um, I've got another cipher coming out earlier in the year. I did the World War cipher with people like the Marine rapper, DQ, BYG. There's plenty of guys on there. I can't remember them off the top of my head. The Mother MC, which they're all American veterans. So he found me on Instagram and he hit me up and he was like, do you want to get on this cipher? Because he wanted it to make it an international thing. So he wanted obviously a British artist on there, American, Canadian. I think we had an Australian on there as well. But it was introduced by Shaggy, um, obviously award-winning Grammy artist Shaggy, who used to be in the US Marines. Uh, So we've done that. We've got a second version coming out earlier next year. At some point, I believe it's potentially mid-January, possibly earlier. And I am actually in the writing process / planning stage of an EP. I haven't got a title for the EP yet, but I sort of took a little step back from music the last couple of weeks because I got a little bit disheartened, to be honest with you. With I was like listening to the charts and I was listening to the music and I was like, in my opinion, I didn't like it. I didn't vibe with it because everyone was going with that trend. So I'm touching on real subjects more. You know, in my EP, it's going to be, there's a little bit comedy value in there. There's sort of a serious value. There's going to be different values in there. Each and every song's going to be different to an extent, but it's going to have all the wordplay, the lyricism, the flows, the changes, the cadences. It's going to have everything in there that you would require from a debut EP as such. So that's where I'm going with it.
That's cool. It's interesting that you mentioned the music in the charts today, because for me, you know, people who listen to the podcast know that hip hop, making beats was not my first step into music. You know, I'm 27. I've been playing guitar since I was like 13. I've been in a band since I was 14 and playing lots and lots of live shows. So I've got a lot of experience playing live and playing music that's like rock, indie rock style. And then I only really got into hip hop production in the past 3 or 4 years. So for me, when I listen to some of the music on the radio, now I've like learned the process of like making beats and making sort of more contemporary style music. I can appreciate it more now, but 4 years ago I was like, it's a load of crap. It's simple, it's easy, there's no skill behind it. But now I'm like, there's actually a lot of skill that's gone into it, and there's a lot of musical things around there. So I can appreciate it much more now. But you know, as a musician as well as a producer, I've found that if I just make beats, it doesn't fulfill my creative likeness. Like, do you know what I mean? So like, if you've got a bottle of creativity, like making beats only feels like maybe half of it, and then the other half has to come from playing my guitar live in a band or recording music that's a different genre, like rock, indie, that kind of stuff. And then, you know, I find that it all helps me. So my mate, he's called Joe. He's starting out as a solo artist. He's a really talented guy, and I've been going down to a local studio with him and been recording music, and I've been there just helping him put it together, bring up with ideas, lay down bass and guitar and a few keyboard bits. And that, I didn't realise that actually gives me so much as well, not just making beats and mixing and mastering and stuff like that. It's just made me realise that I need to keep doing that as well, because if I just make beats, I can get a bit bored. That's probably the wrong thing to say, because there's a lot of producers who are like, oh, if you don't make beats every day and you don't just get at it, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, but for you, that's all you know how to do musically. I can do more. So it's, you know, just coming back to what you said, you know, getting disheartened by the whole modern music. I can totally see where you're coming from, you know, especially when your music is so focused on the lyrics, is so focused on, you know, being funny as well. And that's the thing. Where do you cross the line to become more mainstream without losing your integrity as a musician or as an artist? It's a tricky thing.
I mean, I've always said to myself, and I'm a firm believer, whether it comes to music or in general or just in life, you know, if you stay true to yourself, there will be people out there that will latch onto it and agree with it. Like, for example, people like Tom McDonald. I don't know if you've ever heard of him or listened to him, but if you listen to his songs, he touches on real subjects, and people are like, yeah, no, I agree with this guy. I completely agree. Even though they agree on their sofa, yeah, I agree with this, yeah. But in the street or just in general, they wouldn't agree with it because it's not the social norm to agree with it. Do you know what I mean? And I think the way he attacked the market as an independent artist is amazing. The way he done it is genius. I mean, there's songs I've listened to and I've gone, damn, like this guy he doesn't care. I mean, and I think that's the same what Eminem did back in the day, except he was funnier in his approach. You know, he got all the stick for it, but look at where it is now, and he's obviously one of the best selling artists in hip hop. And you know, I think it's amazing, like how some artists can conquer the genre. And I mean, I'd never want to be considered corny or just, not that I have anything against YouTube rappers or nothing like that. I never just want to be on one platform. The dreams I have for myself are to expand on a wider base of world, not just one platform. And obviously it takes a lot of work and a lot of effort. And I mean, YouTube and Instagram and Facebook and so on and so forth are great ways to get your music out there. Not everyone's going to agree with you. Some people will, some people won't. Some people won't like your music. It's just a fact of life. Like, I could sit there and say, oh, Kiss are the best band ever. And you could go, I don't like Kiss because I don't like their lyrics or their melodies. Do you know what I mean? Everyone's got a varied opinion. So that's where I stand with it as such.
So do you think keeping to yourself is the right way for an artist to really break out and, and get the full fulfillment from it? Because, if you do compromise your sound to be more mainstream, you might lose a bit of yourself, do you think?
Yeah, in my opinion, I mean, what I'd say on a song, I would say to someone's face. That is the way I'm built as a person. And, I wouldn't say, I would tone it down a bit. I wouldn't completely say something to someone and they'll be like, oh, I'm well upset with that. But what I would say on the song is what I would say to someone's face. And I'd back up my opinion as to why I believe that or why I said that. And I do believe if you compromise your vision just for, to get some clicks on YouTube and a bit of a listen, then you're compromising who you are as a person. Some people said to me, I've wrote songs in the past which have been quite, I don't know, say depressing, as if you want, but that's where I was at in that stage of my life. So I wrote that song to express, and if whether one person or 100 people relate to that song and it gets them through a bad time, that's success in my eyes. Do you know what I mean? And I've never been about, like, even when I write songs, I'm very specific on what I say. I won't ever talk about shooting or killing someone. Metaphorically, I might say I'll kill you on the microphone, but that's a metaphor to me. But I'd never sit there and say I'm going to shoot or kill you or vice versa, because that's not how, I won't say it unless I've either been through it or I've done it, and that's where I won't compromise my vision as such, because it's just not me. And because, in general, whatever you say in life or whatever you say in a song, if you put it on a song and you put it out to the world and you get 10 million views and 10 million people have seen it, 10 million people are going to go, I remember when he said that. Something happens along the line, they go, hang on, he said that. Somehow it will always come back to bite you in the arse. And that's the way I see and life and music in general. So that's where I stand with that particular, topic as such. But
yeah, fair enough. Anyway, you started talking about killing and stuff like that. So I thought, this would be the perfect question next. You've said that you're in the army, and that's really cool. How would you say that your experience in the army has shaped your music?
Oh, that's a good one, actually. I believe my experience in the army, it's gave me discipline in a lot of ways to see a task through. Don't get me wrong, sometimes I do procrastinate with certain songs. I'll record a rough draft of something and I listen to it back and I go, nah, throw my headphones down and have a little strop. But then I come back in the room, I go, hang on, how can I reattack that particular song, or what can I change in that song for other people to like it? My biggest critic is myself. I'm so critical of myself. You would not understand how sometimes I've written some stuff And at the time when I've written it, it's been amazing. But then I look back on it and I go, nah, no one's going to like that. When in reality, I once put out a song just out of the blue, randomly,
Mm.
just to see what reaction I'd get. And I got a better reaction on some of the songs I spent more time on. It was kind of strange how that worked, but my whole experiences in the army have definitely taught me to be disciplined in a certain area, to fulfill a task and see it through. Even if it's not the best task, I believe you learn from your mistakes and where you do and don't go wrong.
Mm.
That's what the army has done for me. It's gave me a lot of discipline to get things done. I'm very particular, like especially in the army, you've got to be particular with certain things to, you know, to progress in this job. So yeah, it's definitely made me more disciplined in a lot of senses.
Nice. That's cool. I think that's the one thing that I hear from a lot of people who've had experience in the army is that they learn discipline because otherwise they just haven't got a choice. Is
Yeah.
it quite strict in the army?
Yeah, I'd say it's fairly strict. I mean, like, don't get me wrong, there's times and you do get a lot of leeway with certain things. The longer you've been in, the more leeway you get. So say for example, you're in a civilian job. If you're late for work and you go, sorry boss, I'm late, my car broke down. Yeah, no worries. Happens 2 or 3 times, you're fired. See you later, off you go. Whereas in the army, you're late, you just get called a dickhead and you get told to, right, go and do that. Come on, you're in your own time now, chop chop, hurry up. So you're under a little bit of pressure to get things done. But yeah, no, it's definitely one of those. It's that's how it is. It can be difficult, but it's only as hard as you make it. I mean, if you're a complete donut and you're always doing things wrong, you're definitely going to make it harder for yourself. And also, the more rapport you build with your teammates and your colleagues and whatnot, the better chance you have at succeeding and I believe that with any field. You know, if you've got a great team behind you with music, work, civilian life, whatever way you look at it, you're going to succeed in where you want to go because you've all got to have the same focus and mental drive to get to that place.
Yeah. That's cool. So what sort of freedoms do you have as someone who's in the army?
All the basic freedoms that your average person gets. I mean, the only time we can't do certain things is if we're deployed away to another country, and we'll go out there with what we need, bare minimal sometimes, mobile phones. Just depends on the situation. If you're in like a war zone and you're only allowed a phone at a certain time and stuff like that, and you'll get given an internet card. So you'll have, with the army, I find it teaches you how to live minimal. So, you know, like, especially in obviously my room that I've got at work, which I'm currently at now, but I have all my my musical equipment here. I mean, I could have all these thousands of mixers and all that and go and get them, but I wouldn't know what I'm doing with them. So I have minimal. I have speakers, a couple of screens. I've got an MPC here and a machine, Mark II, which I know how to use. Basically, the machine, don't really know how to use too much just yet. I'm still learning that. But the MPC, I've cracked the majority of it. So, you know, you learn, you know, you have the basic freedoms what everyone else has.
That's cool. I think it's really important that, like, I remember, I mean, I don't know how old you are. You look, you're similar age to me. But when I was a kid, we didn't have mobile phones. We didn't have the luxury of, you know, Netflix and stuff like that. I remember like the first ever DVD I ever bought. Like that's, you know, I remember, you know, it's like, what did we do before? We just made do with what we had. Like we, you know, we just lived with, you know, it's like today, you know, if I was going to work and I'd forgot my phone, I'd want to go back and get it. It's like, I think we should live more minimal than we do because we rely on so much stuff. And like, it's the same with music. Like the best songs are always the simplest songs.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've got friends that have done songs in the past and they've put either way too many instruments in it, stacked the vocals up way too much, and completely not destroyed a song, but they've made it harder for the listener to listen to in some senses. Where you know that old saying, too many cooks spoil the broth. Do you know what I mean? If there's someone that's cooking too much or adding too much ingredients, it tastes horrendous at the end of the day. But I mean, even some of the songs I've written have been some of the simpler songs that have got more traction than the ones that have been, had more work put into them. I mean, the first song I ever released was that Retrospect, and I won't take full credit for it, but I found a loop, a royalty-free loop, and I whacked it into the MPC. Then a chorus just came to my head. I was like, all right. Then I added a little drum beat, and I literally took the sample and the drum beat that I had with the snares, the kicks, the claps, and the hi-hats in there, took it down there to the studio that I worked down. And after that, by the end of that session, we had the full instrumental. So I knew exactly where I was going to come in, what I was going to say on each verse. And by the end verse, I knew exactly how I was going to close it. So that's where my process ends up going. But in terms of, as you were saying, minimalistic stuff, I mean, I even still remember, like, I think the most technology I had when I was a kid was, I think it was a Tamagotchi, one of those things where you got to keep your pet alive. And the PlayStation 1 when it came out a couple of years after. And that was the most technology I had, and video plays. And, there was no Sky, there was no Netflix, there was nothing like that. It was channel 1 to 5, and that was it. And even you probably get channel 1 to 4 at a push. Channel 5 was always messy, as you probably know.
Yeah, definitely.
But I never had any of that stuff. I think that's where I try to, like with my music in general, I try to keep it as simple as possible, but also keeping the true definition of what I personally perceive as hip hop, which is to me lyricism and a story and flows and cadences and switches. That's where I try to keep my music in that same area. I try to keep it tight like that.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I think this is something that I was talking about with my friends in the studio I was in on Monday. And I was playing some guitar on this track, and I'm not one of those guitarists that's really showy offy. I'm not really fast at playing. I just play the right notes and it sounds good. I'm good at making things simple. And my mate was saying that he worked with some guys before, and they were both really sick at their instruments, but they were playing the song, but then they had to like put their spin on it, and they had to like the term that they used was, the bassist used to fret wank, he basically would like play like the bass too. That's their quote. So I'm not saying. And basically so he's like, just play it like simple, and then he's like, all right, I'll play it simple, but I need to add this little bit in. And it's like, no, you don't. Just play it simple. Like, keep it simple. And I think too many people, when they get to a certain level, I find myself doing this with beats sometimes. I'm like, make a great beat that's perfect. But then I'm like, I need to add some more because that's the creative in me. But then sometimes I've just got to take a step back and say, no, just keep it simple. That's really, really it's a challenge, I think, but something that I think you learn. Sometimes it needs more things, but sometimes simpler the better.
Yeah, 100%. Sometimes you can overdo stuff too much to a point where especially when it comes to mixing. I mean, I don't know a great deal about mixing, but I think you can probably vouch for this. If you put too much in there, you can overbear it, and sometimes it can become quite hard for the listener to understand. That's why every time I record, as you've probably noticed with the Cypher itself, I double the vocals, align the vocals, and add ad-libs. And whether they all get used or not is a different matter. But when it comes to the engineer that's mixing it, I can sort of say what I kind of want it to sound like. But I think unless you're with someone in person, unless, if I sent you a song now and I said, can you mix it? I want it to sound like this. You'd have a different idea to what I would have. I always find when you're working with someone, in the studio together, and you can go, oh, no, I mean like this. I don't know all the technical terms for sort of the mixing and mastering and the reverbs and all that. I don't know all the technical terms just yet, but I know what I mean when I say I want it to sound with a deep voice. I know exactly what I mean. And obviously you probably know the technical term for it,
Yeah.
but I always find when I'm working with someone in person, you can be there to, I wouldn't say monitor the finished product. I'd say you can be there to say, oh no, I don't mean that, I mean that. And then you start going for all these sounds and they go, yeah, that's what I mean, that one. So that's how my process is. But I never try to sit there and try to overbear the person mixing the song and sit there and say, oh no, you're doing it wrong, because I won't sit there and talk about something I don't know about unless I was dead certain what I meant. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely, it's so true. And I think, it's not overpowering the engineer, but it's more keeping the shit going in the direction that you want it to go at the end of
Yeah.
the day, because it's your song. But why don't we talk about the cipher? So obviously the Battle Beats cipher was released last week. Was it last week? Yeah, last week.
Yeah.
And it did really well. It's at about 488 views now, so it's doing really well. But how did you find the process of the cipher? Because you killed it. I put you first for a reason, because I wanted to start off with a bang, and your verse was next level. So
The process, when you obviously invited me on and Mo Reese invited me on and I heard the beat, I always get like this. When I first hear a beat, I'm like, fuck, that ain't my style. That is not my style at all. But then I listen to it 3 or 4 times and I go, actually, this probably is my style. I can do a lot with this, when I started writing, I was just sitting there and I was sitting at the computer. I had my pen and pad in front of me and I was just listening to the beat, and then the one line came to me and I was like, I'll write that down. I wrote that line down and I kept just sort of, I can't freestyle off the top of my head like someone would and they go do a whole song for a freestyle. I can never do that. I sort of sit there and I freestyle, and I sort of, when I'm on my own, I don't mind making a prat of myself because I'm on my own. But I sort of freestyled it and I wrote the verse, and I thought, I don't want it just to be lyrics and just to talk about how fucking good I am or what I'm going to do to your mother or anything like that. I thought I want it to have some sort of message in there to an extent. And so obviously when I started off, I'm a pasty guy with shit looking tan line. That's my whole philosophy from going back to our conversation earlier, of being true to who I am. I am a pasty guy and I've got a dodgy looking tan line. And I've got little legs, so I won't lie, I'm only short. I'm only 5'5". I consider myself short. So, I sort of started it going from there, and I thought, okay, I'm an underground artist, dug in deep like a landmine, and it's everything I was saying in there was true to where I was going to go, and I have, anyone, I think if you have the right exposure, anyone can get signed to a label. If they see dollar bills in you or pound signs, they'll sign you just to get the money and then shoot you off. It's a tough industry. But when I was saying about the whole indie route process, it's so I can say what I want to say, however I want to say it, while I've still got a fan base that's fairly small at the moment, to get away with it. And I still, even if I had 1 million subscribers, I still don't think I would change what I say or who I am just to please the minority of them, or the majority of them subscribers, for the sake of keeping people. I'd rather stick to who I am as a person than falsify something or come across as someone I'm not.
Yeah, that's true. I think that's good. And I think your verse was super cool. And I thought it was interesting because when Mo Reese said, I want to ask Factor 50 to come on, I was like, yeah, definitely, because it was shortly after that you hit me up to make you a beat, and I mixed some vocals for you, I think, and I was really enjoying listening to you and working with you. So when Mo was like, yeah, we've got to get him onto the cipher, I was like, yes, let's get him on it. And you really, you was in my top 3 easily. And it was great. Who was in your top 3?
I knew I was going to get asked this. In my top three, I'd have to say I I did I did really enjoy Eddie Ace's verse and his video. I also enjoyed Sweet Daddy's verse, and his video was amazing. I absolutely, I was kind of jealous of that. I won't lie. I saw his video and I went, "Fuck! I've just done a behind the mic video, and this guy's gone all out with a motorbike,
Yeah.
levers, and everything."
Well, I was
And I've
expecting
just,
people to just do behind the mic videos. He just, yeah, I don't think he got the memo.
but that's fair enough. He brought, I think everyone. What I found with that, and my third choice was definitely Biscuit and then Chameleon. I mean, I think everyone killed it in their own extent. Like, I was listening to it, I was like, when I was listening to other people's lyrics, I was like, shit, why didn't I think of that? Or why didn't I think of this? Or think, but then I was like, actually, that's who they are as a person. I've got to stick to who I am. And I can't remember who else was.
There was Jackson Pierce, Sweet Daddy, and I think we've named them all, and you.
I think, like, to be honest with you, I think everyone killed it in their own manner to who they are or how far they are on their journey into their music and how they operate as a person and a musician. I believe, everyone brought their A game for it, But yeah, no, I mean, in my order, it was Eddie H, because I exclude myself. I always exclude myself. I never put myself at the top five. I never do that, or the top three. I've got faith in my music and what I do, but that's, you're sort of being biased then. You go, oh, I should have won that, or that guy wasn't that great, or this girl wasn't that great. I believe Eddie Ace in my top three: Eddie Ace, Sweet Daddy, and not Chameleon, Biscuit. That's it. And in Chameleon, if everyone could have got a prize for something, that's who I would have put in the top four, of my opinion. I mean, Saint Jimmy, well done to the winner and whatnot. But his verse really caught me off guard. I was from another UK artist as well. I was because I didn't really, I won't lie about it. I didn't listen to anything he done before that cypher. I did sort of thought, oh, I wonder what this is going to be like. And I was expecting fast flows because, I listen to people like Tech9 and all like fast lyrical rappers. And I was expecting sort of a fast flow because obviously he's got that grime background. I was expecting some fast flow. And when he came with a slower flow, I was like, oh, all right, okay. I was a little bit shocked, but obviously once he ran it through, I was like, yeah, fair play.
Because to me, like I really, really enjoyed his verse, and it goes to show that the cypher is a public vote, and he's got a lot of fans. He's got a lot of fans that love his music, and his verse was quite slow for what his normal style is, I'd say, but he just bodied it in a way that threw everyone, and I thought was kind of, because it went so against the grain. That's why I liked it so much, because different stands out. Everyone I've talked to talks about St. Jimmy's verse sticking out differently, and I think that's good because it's a talking point. But I had him on the podcast a few weeks ago, and he was saying how he's like, he hates like grime, and he's like really trying not to be that stereotypical grime rapper. He likes really dark trap beats. But because he's got the accent from West London, I associated it with that at first. But he's a sound guy, and his verse just really surprised me. But I tell you, sorry,
I've got one thing to say. Saint Jimmy, I know you followed me on Instagram, but then unfollowed me for whatever reason. I don't think I didn't notice because I did. I see it. I see everything. He done that.
Jimmy, you need to pull your finger out and follow.
Sort your life out, man.
Yeah, stay off the weed.
But yeah, I mean, automatically, when I heard him, I thought he was a grime artist. But that's because obviously when you've got that sort of accent as well, especially if you listen to grime now, they do kind of sound the same in their accents. And you're like, you can't really tell the difference between them. Like if for example, you put someone like Eminem and then Macklemore next to each other, you can tell who's Eminem and tell who's Macklemore, even though they're completely from different cities in
Mm.
America. You can tell the difference. But if you put two grime artists together from, say, West London and East London, they sound the same in voice.
Mm.
And I think that's where I don't want to go. I mean, the way I talk now is, I always see rappers like voice acting to an extent. I've seen that as a distinguished sort of thing.
Yeah.
They sound the same. Whereas when I rap, I try to keep my accent out of it as much as I can.
Mm. That's the
I
thing with grime. It's I'm not a fan of grime. I'm not. I've said that lots of times. I just don't particularly like it because all you hear is the word ting or something like that. And I'm just like
yeah,
it kind of
yeah,
gets
yeah,
on my nerves a bit. And I'm
yeah.
from Yorkshire, so we're a little bit broader up here. We're a little bit more rough and ready, and I just can't get in with all this London gang language.
No, I mean, even though where I grew up in London, it's sort of heavily like that. I mean, you've heard of Dizzy Rascal, right?
Yeah, yeah.
He lived round the corner from me, and
Mm,
my dad used to drink in the pub with his dad. So it was. I think that's a prime example. Dizzy Rascal took the grime but turned it into hip hop and then went international with it. That's
mm,
the journey that I see him take, because he kind of realized at the time grime wasn't going to go as far as the streets of London.
mm,
Do you know what I mean? And maybe up,
yeah.
up the country a little bit.
I
I
think,
mean,
and I
there's a
think,
couple.
yeah. Sorry, I think that's really true because there's certain music that can only live in an area and it can't go any further. And Dizzy
Yeah,
Rascal
yeah.
really, he embodied the international artist thing, and credit
Mm.
to him, it was great.
Yeah. I mean, I can't actually remember what I was going to say, to be honest with you. But yeah, no, in that respective field, he absolutely conquered it. And I mean, now, I mean, he just released a new album a couple of weeks ago, and even then, it was still true to his roots, but he's gave it that little bit more of a mainstream vibe,
Mm,
which
yeah.
I think I always have respect for that. If there's someone who's true to their roots but can make it a
Mm,
mainstream vibe, but also stay true to who they are.
mm,
At the end of the day, I mean, music is subjective, really. You like it or you don't, depending who the artist is.
yeah.
There's some big artists out there that have blew up, and I listen to them and I think, what the fuck is this shit? What is this? Do you know what I mean? Like
Mm. So
people
how
like
are they
6ix9ine.
famous?
Yeah, like people like 6ix9ine. Fair play. He's a great actor, and he's got all the colourful hair and whatever. But lyrics wise, I'm like, what the fuck? And I mean, even people like Eminem touch on it in their songs, and people like Hopsin, and they all the true lyricists understand that that's just a mainstream gimmick, And so I've always respected lyricists more
Mm,
than I have
yeah.
the mainstream.
Talking to lyricists, it was Eddie Ace that actually messaged me, and he was,
Ah,
you know, we were actually working on something, which is going to be really
nice, yeah,
cool.
nice.
So he texted me. It's funny we were talking about the cipher, and he texted me. We've got something cooking, which is going to be good. But
Yeah, nice.
one verse that really surprised me was Chameleon, because
Mm,
I remember Chameleon. I've been mixing for Chameleon for a while now, and when he first started off, he was good, but every mix he sent me, every song he sent me, got way better. And it's
mm,
almost like when he got this cipher verse sent to me, he almost like walked in, dropped the mic, and said, "I'm done. That was awesome." And he just bodied it, and he just killed
mm,
it. I was really taken back. I was like, he's just stepped his game up, and
yeah.
the cipher is a perfect place to do it because that's where you're going to get the people looking and saying, you're really good. So I'm really hoping that these ciphers can build up to be something where the guys that are
Mm,
on it can can keep going and get more followers from it. Obviously, this was the first one that we're doing with Lyrical Assassins, so shout out to
mm.
them for all the help. But hopefully they can build up. And what I'd like to do is do reunion ones as well. So we do the
Oh, yeah.
same the
So,
same X amount of people on it. Maybe
yeah.
you know, after 6 months or something, because we're going to aim to do one every month, and we've already got some names lined up on the next one. Just to name a
yeah.
few, just to name one, we've got another UK artist called 10K on it. Um,
Oh yeah, 10K. Yeah, what a
yeah,
lad. I like that
yeah,
geezer. What a lad.
yeah. We've actually spent a couple of times hanging out, which is really cool, working on some music. So that's exciting. He's sent me the verse already, so I'm hyped to have him on it.
Bloody hell, yeah.
Um,
Fair one, yeah.
so that'll be good. I'm pushing a few people, but yeah, none of them have confirmed yet. But we've still got a couple of weeks, so it should be good. But
Yeah,
I
when
think, sorry, what's that?
is it releasing January, is it?
Yeah, hopefully January 1st, I think. And I
Oh,
think
that's
it
cool.
might be a struggle to get 7 on every one, but we'll see how it goes.
Mm,
Because I'm gonna run out of rappers that I know. But we'll make our way through it, and it'll be good.
yeah.
But
What I was gonna say, yeah, in regards to my video, behind the mic video, I recorded that on my phone. And 2 days after I sent, well, yeah, 2 days after I sent you the video, my video camera came through and my green screen. I was like, oh my God, typical. But because we had a deadline, I was like, it's bloody typical, isn't it? I had my green screen camera and then my green screen turn up. I was like, fuck.
mate, you
So,
should. Well,
yeah.
I mean, I'm just thinking, because when did you send the video on the? Because I didn't actually edit the video until like a few days after the deadline, just because I knew that some people wouldn't send it on time. Do you know what I mean? So you may have had you probably could have sent it to me and
Yeah, I probably could have done. I probably could have done. However, I was still trying to figure out how to use bloody Adobe After Effects. That's fucking hell. It's
yeah, I
another
don't
thing
know
I
how
got
to
to
do
learn.
it. I don't know how to do any of that. I use iMovie. I want to upgrade on my Mac to Final Cut Pro, which is like the upgraded paid version, but it's like 300 quid. And I ain't got 300 quid lying around. So, you know,
Mm.
saving up to buy a house and, you know, we're going to start looking for a house next year, but next month. But I'm really not fancying putting 300 quid down on it. But I know I will after one day when my videos start
Yeah.
getting a little bit more views. But it's the
Mm.
way it is.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly it. I mean, that's the whole reason why I invested in a camera and a green screen for stuff like ciphers, and I'm going to switch it up a little bit as well. I'm going to start putting stuff on Instagram with like green screen backgrounds, maybe a verse every other day or two. But I'm going to ride out this year and obviously see where next year starts to take me, then kick it off from there.
Nice.
So yeah, that's where I'm going with it.
So where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Just to last question, just to wrap it up.
Hopefully on the beach in Malibu with Rihanna, hopefully. But that's that's subjective, really, isn't it? The way I see it, what you put in life, in work, is where you're going to get. And the way I'm trying to progress with this, I'd hopefully like to see that. It's hopeful, but I'd like to see within 5 years I could have at least 2.5 million subscribers on YouTube, and at least 1 million people at least on Spotify, at least. But then again, that's subjected to how hard you work as an individual and an
Mhm.
artist, and where you take your career. You know what I mean? I always, especially with my current job, I always take my days as they come, because I could be here today and I could be in flipping back end of the Congo tomorrow. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? That's the way my life is, and all the free time I have is music related, musically orientated, writing or playing about with the MPC or finding a beat or something musically related. So I spend majority of my time doing music when I'm not working.
Yeah,
So that is, I'd like to see myself, in good stead in 5 years. That's what I'd like to see. But that's
nice.
that's pretty much that's what I'd like to see.
Yeah,
But I've just got to.
man, you got the work ethic, the talent, good music. So why not? Why not?
I think
See you get there.
I think I've just got to tap into the right fan bases of where I am as an artist. And I think as your whole journey as an artist, you sort of discover that who does and doesn't like your music.
Mm,
If you try to appeal to everyone, you're not going to please everyone, and you're just going to end up disappointed in the end. So
mm.
you need to find fan bases that are sort of respect your version of music. If if you're a lyricist and you tap into a lyricist fan base. People go, yeah, this guy is a nuts because he actually talks about something and his lyrics are amazing or his lyrics are good. Do you know what I mean? That's where I think you can stand out in the field if you know where you're going with it.
Definitely. That's definitely the challenge, finding the right fans. But like it's not always easy, but once you find them, then you can start building momentum and really going places, which is the cool thing. But
Absolutely, mate.
where can we all check you out? So we'll have the links in description and stuff like that. But where can we all find you and follow you and subscribe and all of that?
Well, my main platform that I use is Instagram, and that's at Factor50Artist. YouTube is youtube.com/Factor50. Spotify, just type in Factor space 50, and then you'll find me. You'll see me doing some mad stuff like that with my hands on my head. So yeah, and Twitter and all. I'm not really an operator of Twitter as yet. I go on there now and then, but I'm trying to conquer the Twitter game as well. But all the links, as you said, should be in your bio. So if anyone wants to check me out, just go on my Spotify, my Instagram. I've got a link in the bio, and it's got everything in there. It's got my Spotify, it's got my YouTube, it's got everything that you need in there. I mean, I don't use Facebook. I've been off Facebook for about 6 months now. I just can't deal with having too many social media platforms. I mean, I will restart my Facebook eventually, so I can start advertising more on Instagram, but that's where you can find me.
Nice.
Just if anyone ever wants to work or just have a chat, or just you're having a bad time in life and you just want to talk to someone, just give me a message. Say, I'm all about that. I'm all about that. So awesome. Yeah, happy days, man.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming on, bro. It's been great. Thank you for listening to the Beats and Bars podcast. I'm your host, Battle Beats. See you next week.
It's Battle